Hey, thanks for joining me, everyone, on this January 8th. I'm just making sure that we are going. I see we're live on YouTube. Are we live on Rumble? Come on. Might need a longer intro to make sure I'm up. Okay, there we are. We are live. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Happy July 8th, right? That's what it is. Interesting stuff that happened. Oh, that's not right. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, did you hear about them blocking traffic in Manhattan? All the bridges? Yeah, we're going to get to that. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about this traffic tantrum that unfolded in Manhattan. Now, I'm for protests. They're a vital part of our democracy, right? We hear a lot about democracy lately. But blocking bridges and tunnels during rush hour, that's like trying to microwave popcorn without a popcorn button. Good frickin' luck. That was for me, I guess. Look, I'm all for exercising your right to protest, but when you mess with traffic, you're not just stopping the suits getting to their meetings. You're potentially blocking ambulances, folks trying to get to the hospital, or maybe someone trying to run out for a breakfast burrito. Doesn't matter, okay? Now, the consequences of what we should do for this, right? Sure, maybe a fine, right? Make their wallets lighter. Doubt they'd even pay it. But how about making them chauffeur commuters that were stuck in traffic? I don't know. That'd probably be a bad sitcom, right? Your Uber driver today is a professional protester who made a wrong turn at activism. I don't know. I don't think that would work either. But we got to strike a balance, everyone. Protesting, yeah, sure, it's essential. But let's not forget the potential consequences. When an ambulance can't get through, or someone's late to a very important meeting or whatever they're getting to, it's more than just an inconvenience. It's a matter of life and death. So to the protesters, keep your passion burning, but maybe avoid playing red light, green light with the city's arteries. And to everyone else, if you're stuck in traffic, remember to breathe and maybe practice your new breathing techniques to relieve stress, right? 2 in, 1 out, yeah. And to the protesters, I know you think this is important. Look, being run over because you won't get out of the way, that's wrong. But you don't want to be dead right. My name's Tom Coffey. This is a Coffee Nuance Show. Best censored commentary news show live right now. Flame on. And that button doesn't work. There we go. Click. So good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well. I got my Don't Mess with Texas mug today, because that's what I feel like when I see these protests going on in New York City. And believe me, I understand them, as I live here in Portland. We had over 100 nights of protests here in this city. In fact, just the other day, it wasn't a protest. What was it? We had somebody out on a bridge, you know, threatening to jump or whatever. But it was like the major highway bridge that goes north and south in Portland. It was shut down for, I don't know, 8 hours or something ridiculous like that. But protesters do that here all the time. And there are deadly consequences for this. You know, I worry about young people because, you know, your brain's not fully formed when you're 18 and you're out there protesting for, in this case, it's Palestine, what's going on over there in Israel. Not everyone is going to just go along with it, right? That's the problem. Well, the problem is you're really you're inconveniencing probably the wrong people, right? If you stop me from driving to the grocery store or whatever, going to work, I'm not the one that is supporting what's happening in Israel, right? You're just turning people off to your political message. You think it's important, but it's having the opposite effect. So it's like, I don't know, just trying to call attention to something that doesn't really work. That's interesting. Yeah. And I've seen this happen where people die, right? A couple years ago, they were blocking, there were all these protesters standing out, blocking a highway in Seattle. And they were just standing there, and then all of a sudden a car came rolling through and just knocked 2 people flying. It's going to happen. This doesn't help your cause at all. And it can be done in a more productive way. Now, I think a protest that I used to do when I moved here 20 years ago, when I was young, now I'm an old man, I don't do it anymore. But when I was young, they had a thing to draw attention to making it safer for bikers. And so they would bicycle, and a bunch of people would get together and all bicycle downtown Portland, but they would stay in one lane, right? So people could always get through. It was just a little bit of an inconvenience. And the idea was that, hey, we're traffic as well. Okay? So you can protest in a way to draw attention to your cause without causing something where people die. I don't want people to die. I'm against people dying, right? And you can say, yeah, I'm against people dying too. That's why we're out here protesting this thing that's happening on the other side of the planet. I get it. But this is not going to end well. It's not going to end well. And it's really too bad, especially for young people, because I don't think they've figured everything out yet. They haven't figured out that some people aren't just going to take it, and they're just going to drive over you. Yeah. And I got to say, often when I see these clips online, when there's protesters in the street and they just get picked up and hurled, obviously hurting them, I kind of cheer it. I don't want to, but that's my reaction. Yeah, get them out of the street. But I do think, this is a mixed thing, right? We should be able to protest, but I don't think you should be able to block a highway from someone that's trying to get to the hospital. Okay? So let's talk about a different way to protest that might be more useful, and that's what's happening in Germany. You're probably not going to see this story in the U.S. At least I haven't seen much of it, but let me tell you about it. I didn't even read this. I didn't even read you the story about what was happening in New York City. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let me do that real quick. I just assumed you knew about it, but you probably didn't. I love it when technology just stops working. Yeah. Yeah, so let me tell you about what's happening in Manhattan. Pro-Palestinian protesters staged coordinated demonstrations at bridges and tunnels in Manhattan, demanding a ceasefire and advocating for various Palestinian rights. Around 120 protesters were arrested at the Holland Tunnel, and others were detained at bridges. Protests caused significant traffic disruptions for about an hour. Demonstrators demanded permanent ceasefire, end to U.S. support for Israel, and release of Palestinian prisoners. Protest was organized by groups like Jewish Voice for Peace, Palestinian Youth Movement, and ongoing protests reported across New York City. Demonstrations also occurred in the Wall Street area, affecting bus services in Lower Manhattan. So that's the story that I kind of got inspired to talk about today. Yeah, I don't think this helps your cause. It doesn't help your cause. And I think it turns a lot of people against you. This is not a persuasive argument at all. And there's a better way to do it, such as like what they're doing in Germany. Let me get to that. So here we are. German government faced significant protests from farmers due to subsidy cuts, resulting in widespread travel disruptions. These actions highlighted public dissatisfaction with Olaf Scholz's coalition. The decision to reduce subsidies triggered the protests, compounded by increased bureaucracy and environmental regulations impacting farmers' livelihoods. Government initially scaled back the cuts but faced continued opposition. There were concerns about extremist groups using these protests to destabilize democratic institutions. Despite sympathy for farmers' economic pressure, there was criticism of their protest methods, causing disruptions to daily life. Additionally, impending strikes by the train drivers' unions threatened further transportation disruptions. So I am not an expert on what is happening in Germany with this, but I liken this to the protests that happened with the truckers' protest in Canada about some of the COVID restrictions. And it's interesting that this is a massive nationwide protest in Germany. Don't see it on the news here. Why is that? I think because this is actually the way that protests should be done. The protesters are driving their tractors, and they're not just going to bridges or tunnels or blocking major arteries, right? They're saying, hey, where's City Hall? Where is the government buildings? Where are the people that work in our government? That's who we're protesting. Let's go mess it up around them, right? We don't want to make it so that people can't get to the hospital. We don't want to attack normal, everyday Germans. Let's focus our protests on blocking streets around government buildings. To me, this is much more efficient. It's so efficient, in my opinion, this is my speculation. This is such an efficient way to protest. That's why you're not seeing it on the American news. That's why you're not seeing it. They don't want us to get any ideas, right? They want us to have these stupid ideas, like what these kids in New York, and I say kids, whatever. Because those kinds of protests, where you just go out and block everyday people, that doesn't get you any sympathy. That doesn't get you people on your side. However, if you go and you block the government building and you make it a real pain for people that are working at the government, well, then they might actually listen. So I'm speculating that that's why they're not covering this story in the U.S. media. They don't want you to get any ideas. But I tell you, this is something to look into. I'll leave a link in the comments to every story that I talk about. But just, for example, just go on Google News, type in German farm protests, and see how many U.S. media companies are covering this story. Not many. Not many at all. And it's massive. Kind of makes you wonder. It's as if the U.S. news media is taking direction from, I don't know, maybe our own government as to, hey, don't cover this story. We don't want them to get any ideas. But hey, that's just my thought on it. Let me know in the comments, and I will read all your comments in the after show. That's when I get done with a couple more stories here. I'll go through all of your comments as well. So both on YouTube and on Rumble. So please leave a comment, and while you're at it, go ahead, smash the like button. It doesn't cost you a thing. And it lets me know that you're not a bot, you're a real person, and perhaps you don't hate what I'm doing. Right? So thanks for that. I appreciate that. Anyway, next up, apparently, we're going back to the moon. Woo, yeah, this is news. Astrobotic technology. How about that for a name? Their Peregrine, am I saying that right? I probably should have looked up how to say that. Peregrine lunar lander set to launch on United Launch Alliance's rocket marks U.S. returns to the moon landings since 1972. Perhaps we'll get some actual good pictures and good video this time, you know? I don't know. Anyway, the mission, sponsored by NASA's commercial program, aims for precise landing on February 23rd, carrying 10 scientific payloads to study lunar conditions. Controversially, it transports human remains and commercial cargo, sparking objections. Success could shape NASA's future lunar missions and inspire a burgeoning lunar economy. Well, that might be pretty exciting. Why did it take us so long to go back to the moon? Now, the stories that I have heard, right? You know, we went to the moon, so, you know, a number of times, right? And they got all this great footage that we went there, and I guess they lost all the technology. They forgot how they did it. They were able to do it, you know, with, without even a calculator. They were able to map out or do all that math, but for some reason we were never able to go back. Kind of weird. But now, if we're going back, this is kind of exciting. And perhaps with this commercial exploration of the moon, perhaps we'll get a human to go back up there. Perhaps. And I don't know why a human hasn't gone back, but yeah. So we'll see. Anyway, it's exciting. I think that having missions like that is something that we can get behind, as a country, as a planet, as a people, as human beings. So I'm excited about this. But we'll see what happens. Next up, I do want to talk about the growing escalation of plagiarism accusations, and this is kind of interesting, especially how it's covered. So Bill Ackman hinted that MIT insiders might be behind plagiarism accusations against his wife, Miri Oxman, a former MIT professor. Oxman faced claims of plagiarism in her academic work, paralleling a recent controversy involving another academic figure. Ackman criticized the timing of the allegations and plans to review MIT staff and Business Insider for plagiarism. Oxman acknowledges citation errors, but hasn't responded to the latest claims. So here's what's going on with this. And I find this very interesting. You know, in all of the coverage of the Claudine Gay story, actual citations were shown where she plagiarized. And it was lengthy. And it looks like some people didn't like that. Didn't like that Bill Ackman was raising these concerns. So they looked at his wife's dissertation. Now, in this case, and this is another thing that I invite you to do if you're interested. This is kind of an interesting activity to do. Go look at the coverage of this story, because everybody that's talking about this story doesn't say they actually looked into it. They're just reporting on the accusation. So in Claudine Gay's case of Harvard, you actually saw what she was accused of plagiarizing. But in this case, the media is saying, hey, we didn't actually look into this ourselves, but she is being accused of this plagiarism. Now, she has conceded that, this is the biggest charge against Bill Ackman's wife, was that she used some definitions from Wikipedia without quotation marks. Okay, I guess technically if you want to say that that is plagiarism, well, that's one thing. But I think lifting a definition from Wikipedia is a bit different than copying whole paragraphs of other people's work. But whatever. She admitted that I think she was missing 4 quotation marks in her paper, and she's going to update that. Never heard anyone accused of plagiarism from lifting a definition from Wikipedia, but, you know, maybe technically that is plagiarism. I don't know. That's not the point, and why I bring this up is you can look at the media coverage of this story, and none of the journalists that are covering this story actually say, oh, I looked into it, and this was, it was plagiarism. No one's doing that. They're just reporting that she's been accused of it. And if you just report that someone's been accused of something, you don't actually have to look into it. Now, how hard would it be for a media organization with a budget, right, with access, to be able to get a copy of her dissertation, which anyone can do? I mean, it may cost a little money to do that, and run it through some AI and see if there were any, if there was any plagiarism. Any media company could do this. Any journalist could do this. They're not doing that. The report, what they're doing is they're just saying that she's been accused, but they're not going to look into it. Interesting stuff. Interesting take on it. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, last up, I got no good news today, but maybe we'll call this good news. It has to do with a hit piece on Elon Musk, that he's a big druggie. So Elon Musk has responded to a Wall Street Journal report alleging his drug use by stating that 3 years of NASA-mandated random testing found not even trace quantities of drugs in his system after his well-known marijuana use on Joe Rogan's podcast. He criticized the report, calling it unfit for even a birdcage lining. The journal stands by its reporting, citing concerns from senior figures in Musk's companies about his alleged use of various drugs. The report highlighted instances where his behavior raises concerns, such as during a SpaceX meeting and a tweet about taking Tesla private in 2018. Musk previously mentioned compliance with drug tests due to SpaceX's NASA partnership and federal government workplace drug policies. SpaceX and Tesla did not immediately respond for comment. So here's what happened. The Wall Street Journal did a hit piece on Elon Musk, citing unnamed people at the company, saying that they were concerned that Musk was a big old druggie. Well, as it turns out, right, years ago, Elon Musk took a couple puffs of a joint on the Joe Rogan podcast. Clearly, it looked like he wasn't a smoker because he was did it in a really weird way, kind of the way that someone would maybe take a puff of a joint that wasn't a marijuana smoker. But then after that, he being Elon Musk, agreed to doing drug tests. And I think there were weekly drug tests for the past 3 years. Totally clean on all the drug tests since then. So why is it that the Wall Street Journal is putting out this hit piece? Why did the Wall Street Journal not even talk about all of the drug tests that he has to take and pass? Why? Do you think the problem is that Elon Musk is essentially funding a platform, X, that, allows people to criticize the Wall Street Journal? Perhaps. Now, I don't have any direct evidence of that, but that's what it looks like to me. Corporate media really has it out for Musk. They were his biggest cheerleader until he became their competition. Then, all of a sudden, as if overnight, they all attack him. Interesting stuff. I think this was an excellent rebuke of the charge that he is a drug user, and to be able to put out 3 years of clean drug tests is admirable. And I think it debunks the Wall Street Journal's claim, and the Wall Street Journal is standing by their assertion. Of course they are. Should you give any credence to the Wall Street Journal? I don't know. That's up for you to decide, but doesn't look like they have a whole lot of credibility, especially in this case. And if it turns out that they're totally wrong in this, perhaps they should do an update. But they're not doing that. Interesting stuff. Anyway, let me know what you think about this story and all the stories today in the comments. That's all I prepared for you today. Stick around for the after show. I'll be going through all your comments. Hope you all are doing fantastic today. You are getting set for this big winter storm that is hitting the U.S. I did see perhaps we're going to get snow here in Portland like this weekend or later this week. I don't know. I'm not ready for that. But it's going to do severe weather all across the country. It's something to prepare for. So go out and prepare for that. Hope you have a great day. I'll be back on Wednesday, Big Idea Wednesday, live noon on the West Coast, 3 p.m. on the East. Hope to see you then. Until then, peace. Hey. All right. Well, we got a small show today. That's okay. That is okay. But wow. Yeah. Tiny audience today. That's all right. There really wasn't a whole lot of big news. Natasha's saying, interesting, I can hit the thumbs up and it does a little animation, but it doesn't change the number. Yeah. YouTube continues to be slow, let's just say. I'm going over to Rumble. Okay, we'll see then. Natasha, nice. Erie Fairy says, hi, Tom. Hello, chat. Listening while working. Well, I'm glad that you can listen while you work today. It's really cool that you're able to listen to shows while you're working. That's nice. Over on Rumble, nice Texas mug. Yes, I know. And perhaps You're a Texan as well, I believe, right? We need a case of crazy gunman or woman with ammo belts get delayed by protesters, so he or she unloads on protesters instead of the intended school or mall. Oh, that's a bit. That's kind of I don't want that as well. I don't want that at all. You know, I think there was the case. I think it was in Texas. You know, during all the Black Lives Matter, there was a guy who his car was stopped by this protest walking through the street, got into an argument with the guy who was blocking him, and he shot him. Right? It's really sad that those things happen. Like I say, it's wrong to be shot because you're blocking traffic, but you don't want to be dead right. Don't want to be dead right. I think the aliens told us not to come back to the moon, that humanity wasn't ready, but I don't see that humanity has improved, so why now? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know why they're going back to the moon. Wikipedia's feelings were hurt. Perhaps. How many people at Wall Street Journal undergo regular drug tests? I wonder. I wonder too. Although I don't really care. And speaking of drug tests, I think there's a big difference between different drugs, right? Is there really that much of a difference between someone that may smoke some pot in the evening after work as someone that makes themselves a cocktail after work? Is there really any difference between the two? I don't think so. I think there's a major difference between what you may do at home after work than what you may be doing all day long, right? Like there's a difference. Having something to relax after work, different than maybe something to get you excited or get you to wake up or get you to have more energy while you're at your job. Big difference between those. I don't like how we lump them all together. How you feeling, Tom? You had me a little worried Friday night. Yeah, I did feel better. It was weird. Friday night, I did have a real tight chest. And I think often, if you are anxious, that can make things worse. And so I really tried to concentrate on relaxing during the show. And after the show was over, I did feel a lot better than I did. I have no idea what it was. I'm not sure what was going on. But yeah, I did have a real tight chest, and that was not a good thing. However, you know, yesterday did some log splitting and whatnot. And now I've got lots of cuts on my hands from from that. And I nearly broke my foot using some heavy equipment yesterday. That was kind of fun. And so one of the things is when you get new injuries and new cuts and nicks and bruises, it distracts from other things. Anyway, I guess we had a real chill show today. Not a big crowd, but I'll try to put together a good show on Friday or Wednesday. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So anyway, that's all I got. I hope you all have a beautiful day. And until next time, peace.